Morning, everyone. Today we're going to talk about basics of angles and angle addition. Angles are some of my favorite parts of geometry. An angle is a figure formed by two rays with the same endpoint. So here are my two rays, and they share an endpoint. This endpoint that they share where they meet is the vertex. It's where the sides of an angle meet. It's a common endpoint. The sides of an angle are the rays that form the angle. Angles are named with 3 points on the angle. The order doesn't matter as long as the vertex is in the middle. So the vertex in this figure is A. It should always be in the middle when you're naming the angle. Angles may be measured in degrees. So our vertex is A, that's in the middle. My sides are these two rays. Remember that the arrow should always go towards the direction of the point that's near it. So AB and AC. When we name this angle, we can name it 3 different ways. Because this angle is by itself, I can call it angle A. I can just call it by its vertex. But, however, if I look at this picture below it, I can't call this angle O because there are 2 different angles that share that vertex. You can only call it with one letter if it's by itself like this. The other way I can name it is using 3 letters and making sure the vertex is in the middle. So I can say BAC and I can say CAB. Angle bisector is a ray that divides an angle into 2 angles that both have the same measure. So it's very similar to when we have a midpoint. A midpoint means the 2 halves are equal. Sorry, I can't stop yawning. A ray that divides an angle into 2 angles that have the same measure. So that means this and this are the same. So just like when we have a segment, we mark it with a tick mark. I do the same thing with angles. Sometimes you'll also just see them do something like this to show congruency. I do that more than I do the tick mark, so that's something you'll see me do. If I have a picture with a lot of different angles, one line could mean they're the same, and if I have a different pair of angles, I'll use 2 lines to show you. So for example, just to kind of show you what I'm trying to say there, if I had this picture, I might say, okay, these are equal, those are congruent. And then I would say these are congruent. And because they're different, I'll use 2 slashes. So these are congruent to each other, but they're not congruent to those. So if I use 1 slash, I'd be saying all 4 of them are congruent. So I'm showing that these two are and these 2 are, not all 4. So in this picture, they're showing you that OY is a bisector, making XOY and YOZ congruent. Okay. There are different types of angles. We have our acute angles, which means that they are less than 90 degrees, but they're always more than 0. Our right angle is equal to 90 degrees. Our obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees, but less than 180. And our straight angle is exactly 180. It's a straight line. Now, last class we did segment addition, and you should have taken a little quick formative on it today. So now we're moving on to angle addition. It's the same concept. It's just different pictures because it's angles rather than segments. So when we're setting up our picture, they'll tell us B is in the interior. That means it should be this ray in the middle. So B is here. It's on the interior of ADC, so that's how we set up our picture. Because it's on the interior, that means we have a part, and a whole. So they just want us to say here that a part plus a part equals a whole, but in angle terms. So the whole angle is ADC. They want us to say that ADB, this small angle, And this M means measure of. So the measure of angle ADB plus the angle measure of BDC should equal the whole angle ADC. So sometimes people get stuck with how to name angles or figure out which angle we're talking about. Use your pencil. A, D, B. Oh God, I'm always yawning when I talk to you guys. I'm sorry. I hope when we go back to school I don't yawn as much. It's hard being stuck in the house. A, D, B. If I want to name this one A, D, C, A, D, C. So it kind of helps you. Go along with the angle with your pencil. All right, so now we have to actually draw out our own. F is in the interior, so that means it's going to be this ray in the middle of angle ABE. So angle ABE. And obviously, guys, my angle may not be drawn to scale. I'm just drawing an angle. So ABF is 62 degrees. FBE is 60 degrees, and they want us to find ABE, the whole thing. So we have two parts that they gave us. They want us to find the whole. We just have to add our two parts together to find the whole. So 62 and 60 gives me 122. That is equal to the measure of ABE. Per usual, my cat is crying to get in the room. I'm sure you guys are used to hearing that by now. All right, so now I'm going to flip it over to my next page. This one has 4 angles inside one, so there's a lot of parts here. So I'm going to go ahead and label. Now, this labeling gets a little crazy. So angle EBC from here to here is 82 degrees. From FBD, so this is 88 degrees. And then FBE right here is 51 degrees. Find angle DBC. So there's a lot of overlapping happening right now. I'm just going to focus on one thing at a time. If I look at this, I have 82. I don't know this part and I don't know this part. So there's nothing I can find there. If I look at this angle, I know this is 51. I don't have this. So that's not going to help me. So let me look at this angle. I have 88 and 51. So I can do 88 minus 51 to find this part. I have a whole and I have a part. So I'm going to do 88 minus 51 to find this. 88 minus 51 gives me 37. I'm going to write that in right here because I just found that. Now, if I cover this back up, I have the situation I just had. I have a whole and a part, so I can subtract to find this other part, which is my final answer. So I'm going to do 82 minus 37 to find DBC. 82 minus 37 gives me 45 degrees. So my final answer here is that the measure of angle DBC equals 45 degrees. You should always write your answer out in a statement like this. All right, the next one says ray BD bisects angle EBC. So I'm going to draw angle EB. Remember, the letter in the middle should always be the vertex. C. Then I have a ray BD bisecting. Remember that bisect means it cuts it right in half. So that means these are congruent. If you want, I like to just put that one line. If you want, you can put the tick mark there to show congruency too. Then they're telling us that angle EBD is 4x plus 16. DBC is 6x plus 4. They want us to find EBD. So they want this angle. So we're not actually doing a part plus a part equals a whole here. We're actually just using our concept and our knowledge of what a bisector is. So we know that a bisector means these are congruent. We have an expression for both of them, so we can set those equal to each other. So because we know they should be congruent or equal, we can set them equal to each other and solve for x. So I just set these two expressions equal. Now I'm going to solve. I'm going to subtract 4x. And then I'm going to subtract 4. That gives me 12 equals 2x, so x is 6. Now they asked me to find the measure of angle EBD, which is labeled as 4x plus 16. So now I'm just going to plug in the 6 and solve. So that gives me 24 and 16, which is 40 degrees. So the measure of angle EBD equals 40 degrees. All right, my last problem here. They have a picture here for me. I just got to label it. ZHG, this here is 11x minus 1. IHZ is 24. Notice I marked those different because they are not the same. And then IHG here is 12x plus 13. So I have a part, and a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and add my two parts and set it equal to the whole thing. So now I'm going to combine like terms. 24 minus 1 is 23. And then I'm going to subtract 11x from both sides. Oop, it's 23, not 33. I get this. And then I'm going to subtract 13 to get my final answer. And I get that 10 equals x. They asked me to find the measure of angle IHG, which is labeled as 12x plus 13. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in 10 for x. And I get 120 plus 13, which is 133 degrees. So that is my measure of IHG and my final answer. All right, if you guys have any questions, we are going to do a quick meet to go over this. But please let me know if you have any pressing questions. All right, see you soon.